Hi everyone, it's TheTidesChanging here, and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. Today I'm going to be making a bakery with a 2-floor apartment above it, and this is actually the build that I'm going to be using for my upcoming Get to Work Let's Play, so I will talk a little bit about what I plan to do for that series throughout this build. But I was actually planning on doing something a bit different for that series for a while. Like, I was going to have a family that lived in a large house, and I guess was sort of rich. But then I thought a little bit more about that as it got closer to the release, and I realized that since this expansion pack focuses on jobs, it might not really work that well to have a family who's sort of well off and has most of what they need and want, because they'd be earning all this money, but then they wouldn't really need it. So I figured it'd be better to have a family that isn't quite as well off, like they have a desire to move up and, you know, get into a better house and such. So I wanted to make it so they had a little bit of struggling, like the place they had was kind of cramped and wasn't big enough for a family of their size. So how this came about was in the last part of my Let's Build a Rustic Inn series, I asked what you guys wanted to see from my next Let's Build. Specifically, I asked for ideas for retail shops, because that is what I want to do in my next Let's Build, and Techie74 left a comment basically about this thing where you have a bakery and apartment above it for a family, and I'll actually read the whole comment. So they said, for the next Let's Build, you can make a bakery for a family. The dad could have a passion for baking, so he gave up his job and opened a bakery. You could have a bakery in the basement and a 2-story apartment above, and above that you could have a photography studio for the mom as if that's her dream. It could have a small painting studio for a daughter too. This Let's Build would take advantage of the multiple levels and the new features, but you could also make the apartment homely but cramped as a change. So as soon as I saw this, I thought that would be a really cool idea to use for my Let's Play, so thank you for putting that idea into my head. Although I did this a little bit differently, so I have the bakery on the main floor, and then the 2 floors above that are the apartment, and there is an empty basement that potentially could be used as a photography studio or some other kind of business. I figure as they make more money, they could have kind of a different kind of store, like maybe like a second store down there or something like that. You know, as the series goes on, I can figure out what I want to do with that space as they get more money. I just thought it'd be really fun to have a shop that was sort of run together by the whole family. Like, this family has 2 teenagers, a son and a daughter, and they also have a younger girl, so I thought it'd be really cool for all the kids to help their father out with running the shop. Although I'm not sure that the youngest girl is going to be able to do a whole lot until she ages up to teenagers, but I can have the 2 teenagers help bring up customers and talk to them and such while their father's in the back baking. And I don't know how much the mother's gonna help out, because I will have her in the detective career, so she might be sort of busy, but I can have her help out with the shop some while she's not working. But I just think it'd be really fun to have it be like a whole family effort, and that would also lessen the need to hire employees and would save the family money so they make more of a profit. And it's probably a good thing, because from what I've seen, the employees don't always do a whole lot. But I'm just really looking forward to playing with this family and trying to run their business and get it to be more successful. And I do plan to explore all of the actor careers in the series. When the 2 teens age up, I'll have them do the other 2 active careers, which are the scientist career and the medical career. And I'm just so excited to get the series going, and it might go into sort of a rotational format like my Sims 4 Let's Play. Like, I might have the 2 teens when they move out, when they age up into young adults. I'm not exactly sure what's going to go on with that yet. But getting back to the actual place, I gave it a very old-fashioned store kind of a look. So I did that thing that I've seen in a lot of older shops where the 3rd floor just looks more like dormers coming out of a very steep roof. So I had a lot of issues with the roofing and trying to get that right, because I just really wanted this look, but it was very tricky to get with the roofing tools in the game. But in the end, I did figure it out. I did get it looking pretty decent, although I did have some issues with it clipping into the 3rd floor, but I managed to get it so it only does it a little bit in one spot. And when you play with the walls on cutaway and live mode, it won't even really be there, so it's not too huge of an issue. Something I should mention though is that you can't technically have a home business with Get to Work, because you do have to purchase a separate retail lot in order to open a retail store. But if you do put home items, you can have your Sims pretty much live there, and for the most part, it does work well. When I was going to do this, I was worried that I was going to have issues with Sims just constantly going up into the apartment part of this building and just hanging out in there, but I did playtest this for a few Sims days just to make sure that everything would work, so I wouldn't go to record the Let's Play then have egg all over my face when I found out that this just did not work at all. And for the most part, they just pretty much only stayed in the business part because this building does have two entrances in the front. One goes just to where the bakery and the kitchen for the bakery is, and then the other entrance allows access to the apartment and also has a staircase going to the basement. And pretty much all the Sims would just only go through the bakery entrance, and they would just kind of hang around in that area where there were items for sale. I only saw like one Sim go into their apartment, and that was because they were following another Sim in there to have a conversation. So I was pleasantly surprised when that all worked out very well. The only issue I had was when it came to sending Sim off on an active career, because when I had the mother go off to her detective career, the kids weren't off at school yet, and there's this issue where they just weren't going to school. Like, I would click the little icon for them to go to school and they just wouldn't. So I think what I have to do is just send them to what is technically their home lot about a, hour or so before they all leave to go to their job and school, and then just have them leave from there, which isn't a huge issue. That's always something I can just cut out during the Let's Play so you all don't see that, and then they do get sent back to their home lot, but it's easy enough to just have them travel back to this lot. So for the most part, it actually will work. Getting back to the build though, at this point I'm working on placing all the windows and doors, and as you can see from looking at it from the front, I do unfortunately have that glitching where there's just a hole where there's supposed to be a door, and that had something to do with how I did the roofing around it, like how I use roofing as fencing rather than actual fences. But I really like the look of it, so I just dealt with it because I didn't want to have a deck that went all the way up to where the awning is, and then I also didn't want to have the front of the upper floor come up to where the front of the lower floor was. I just really loved how that looked, and I just wanted to keep it, so I just sort of dealt with it. But right now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to arrange everything in the interior, because it was a little bit tricky coming up with a floor plan for the apartment area. Like, at first I thought I would just use a second floor and just have a really cramped apartment, but I realized that that would not be enough space at all for family of 5, and I mean the two top floors even then isn't enough space for this whole family. They all have really small rooms, and there just wasn't a whole lot of space for everything that they need. But that does mean that there is a desire to potentially move them out of here and into a separate house in the future. So there's a lot that this family could work towards, and right now I'm trying to get some like borders or trim in between the different levels to give some separation. Had some issues with trying to get on the top floor there, so I messed around for a while, and now I'm going back into the interior to work out the floor plan. So that's the entrance area going up from the lower floor. At first I was going to have it all be open because I was trying to take up some space to make this even more cramped, because I just wanted this to be really cramped. I just wanted the family to struggle a little bit with space, as far as bad as that sounds. But I do end up turning it into a room because I realized that they could really use that space. But this apartment has a very odd layout, and that was kind of what I was going for. Like, I just wanted sort of a quirky apartment that's just a little bit of a different layout than you would normally see. So on the first floor of it, you have a common area, and then you have 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and then on the upper floor is a small common area, 2 bedrooms, and a bathroom. So it's sort of oddly arranged, but I think it'll be really fun to play with, and I'll explain a little bit more about it once I move on to actually furnishing the interior, because for the time being I'm just figuring out how I'm going to arrange it. So there is sort of a private entrance up into the apartment, so the door, you have to go through a door to get to where the stairs to go up to the apartment are. I figured that'd be a little bit better than having it all be open to that area, especially since there is a staircase going down into what will be a basement that will potentially be a separate business at some point. At this point, I'm working on the wallpaper. I wanted to have all brick on the lower level, and then have a nice thicker white trim to separate the lowest level from the upper levels, which I wanted to have a separate type of wall covering, and I'm just doing some more work with the trim and such, and I couldn't get the trim in that one spot in the front, unfortunately, and then I did at first have that white paneling all over the upper 2 floors, although I do change it, and then I had some more issues with trying to move the trim around. Like, that just gave me a bit of trouble. I thought about having something separate on the upper floors, but I ended up just using the same thing for the second and third floor. And since I couldn't get trim on the area in the front, I just put another large shop window in there and another awning to cover up where there wasn't trim. And that actually did work pretty well, so I just put that one there, which of course came from Get to Work, put the trim back in, and put some more windows down the side there, just some smaller ones. There's not a whole lot of windows on the side, and then I had some double doors going out of the back of the kitchen, and that's what that back room is. So I was just going around and changing the colors of the windows because I wasn't so sure about the green or the blue. Blue's what I had originally, and also adding in some plants underneath all the windows for a little bit of greenery and to also break up the white. This build definitely was a bit of a challenge since it's a lot different than what I normally do, but I had a lot of fun making it, and I definitely want to do more retail shops in the future. And something I just remembered I needed to talk about was what to do for my next Let's Build, because I pretty much used the idea a lot of you want to see for that for this build here. So if you guys would still want me to do something similar to this, I can do that. Or if, you know, because I'm doing this, you know, that whole idea for this video, you know, if because of that you want to see me do something different for the next Let's Build, let me know what other types of shops you want to see me do, because I do still want to do a shop. I know electric store or electronic store was suggested, a furniture store was another suggestion. I also thought it might be kind of cool to do like an outdoor supply shop using stuff from Outdoor Retreat, but that might not be such a good idea because the last Let's Build was Outdoor Retreat based, but that could be another potential building idea. And as far as lots for this expansion pack other than shops, I do have an upcoming collab I'll be doing in which I'll be furnishing a hospital. So I will be doing something for this expansion pack other than a shop, and I think that'll be a really fun collaboration to do. At this point of the build, I'm about to move on to the landscaping, and I wanted the landscaping of this lot to look very similar to the other lots that were in Magnolia Promenade. So I just covered the entire lot in pavement, and I do add in some flower boxes for a bit of greenery. I did put this where I did get rid of one of the shops that were there to put this one in because I wanted to use the smallest lot for it to cut down on the cost of the actual lot itself. And also so there wasn't much landscaping to do because I figured this was going to be a very small shop anyway, because I had a budget of around 100,000 simoleons in mind for this. I didn't want it to be too fancy. I wanted it to be more of a frugal, more cheaply furnished lot. So the interior of it isn't quite as nice looking as the exterior of it, but right now I'm working on those flower boxes in the front of the store there. So I just want to have some flowers in front of it where there weren't the doors. So just sticking lots of different colored plants in there just to make it look very vibrant, especially since this lot ends up having a lot of neutral colors on the exterior. I figured some nice bright plants would help to balance that out and give some color to the lot itself. So right now I'm just continuing all the plants down the side of the building, just filling all of that in there. And I did want to have some trees on the lot, so what I did was I just put a few trees down each of the sides and then just had some plants surrounding them. So at first I was using these palm trees, and I had 4 of them down each side. As you can see, I'm just taking out a 2x2 tile area of the pavement to put some plants in around those trees. But then I realized that perhaps 4 trees on each side was just getting to be a little bit too crowded, so I reduced it to 3 of them and just once again evenly spaced them. So that made it look a lot less crowded, a little bit more spread out. Although in the end I didn't use the palm trees, I actually replaced them because I felt like the palm trees were perhaps a little bit too tropical, although there are some palm trees elsewhere in Magnolia Promenade, but I just didn't really feel like they were quite right for this lot. But yeah, this point is when I was trying out some other trees. So I was trying out, I believe those were aspens, and then I ended up settling on those beech trees, which I think fit in with the lot a bit better, and I really do like how they looked. And since I had those trees and plants there, I just took out the plants going along the side of the building and just turned that back to pavement because I felt like perhaps I was a little bit too busy with the plants. So that is pretty much all of the plants that I used. Then I was trying to figure out a different kind of pavement because I felt like just the simple concrete was a little bit too plain, so I ended up using that red rock type pavement, which I feel looks really good with the brick on the building, and I really like how it looks. It's a bit more busy, but it's not too busy, so I think it's perfect for this lot, and just finishing up all the plants there. As you may have noticed, I ended up changing the light green siding I was on the 2 upper floors to just be a brown colored stucco. I also changed the colorings of the windows to be brown and also the awning on the second floor. And I think that coloring fit in a bit better with the brick that's on the lower floor. I was also trying to mix in some concrete with the red stone just to get some different kind of pavement going. But in the end, I do just have all of the red stone because I didn't really like how the pavement looked. It's a little bit plain. At one point I had mostly pavement with just a little bit of the red stone, and then I, as a result of that, decided to expand the garden fort a bit since like I said, the pavement was rather plain, and when I had mostly that in, I felt like a little bit more color was needed in the front of it, especially with the neutral colors that covered most of the building. So I just added in some more plants, made sure that I added in a lot of different colors just to give a pop of color in the front there. And I also added in 2 trash cans behind that door there, and then a mailbox. I'm not sure if the mailbox serves much of a purpose there, but there wasn't a mailbox on the slot, and I was going to have the family pretty much live there, so I figured maybe having a mailbox there would work like it does on the home lot. I'm not sure if there's really a whole lot of much of a point to having that, so I might end up just taking that out. I also put in a little gardening area. I'm not sure who in the family is going to garden, but I figured it could be handy, like, if they decide to sell food other than baked goods, like they could use ingredients from that to save some money and potentially make better quality food. And I'm also putting some posters on the side of the building, sort of like it's just some advertisements for other businesses, sort of like that's something that they make a little bit of extra money off of. I just thought it'd be a nice realistic touch. And then I did move the building back a little bit because I felt like it was a bit too close up to the street, and then I changed the border from that very small one to just a larger one, so you can sort of see that there was a border a little bit more. And the landscaping is mostly done right now. I'm just adding in some signs in the front of the store because they can attract customers, and once again I figured it'd be another realistic touch for this business. And I'm also now adding in the nighttime lighting, so we're getting towards the end of all the exterior work. I spent a bit more time on the exterior of this build than I did on the interior because I wanted the exterior to have a bit more detail to it so that this building would have a good bit of curb appeal to help attract customers to the building. So hopefully that helps their little business to do well right from the beginning. But most of the exterior stuff, like the exterior is pretty much done at this point, so I'm about to move on to furnishing the interior of it after fixing a few missing columns throughout the outside of it. But as I previously said, I had a budget of about 100,000 simoleons in mind for this, and I blew about 50 to 60,000 of that on the exterior. And there was a good bit of interior to furnish, so I had to be very frugal, especially when I get to the actual apartment part. I used so many of the cheapest items in there. I used slightly more expensive items in the bakery, but I still did keep it pretty cheap. I also wanted this bakery to have a slightly dated look, like not have it be completely super good looking. You know, I wanted there to be a desire to renovate it, so that's something that I could potentially do in the series once they get more money. So I think that'll be really fun to at some point update this and make it look more modern. And I did, as you can see, I did use that tile that came with Get to Work, which personally I think is kind of ugly, and that's why I used it, because like I said, I wanted there to be desire in the future to just make this look better. I also used paneling for that reason as well, to make it look like this place hasn't been renovated since the 70s or something like that. But I did use, on all the exterior walls, I did give it an exposed brick look, which I thought was pretty neat. Right now I'm just changing the little board that I used out there since I thought that one would look a little bit better. I also used the pre-made room, the pre-made bakery room, to pull items from, just to make sure I was getting the basics of what I needed to run a bakery, just putting in some little decorations and such. And then I moved that cabinet there over onto that wall. And then in the windows, I thought it'd be kind of neat to have counter type seating, so Sims can just sit there and hang out, because I will come into the business and just sort of hang out and talk while they are deciding what to get. And I thought that was kind of cool, so the whole family can meet new people when they come in to shop. And I just think I'm so excited about the series because I think it'll be so much fun to play with this build, and I just thought it'd be really fun to start the family off with more than just the starting amount, because I can do things like this. Like, I'm not as limited as far as what I can do, but like I said, I at the same time wanted them to have somewhere they could go, like have things that they could strive for, like getting a separate house, updating the business, so there will still be the fun of having the family better themselves, I guess is how you could put it. Right now I'm working on the seating. I couldn't really fit in a whole lot of seating because I didn't want to crowd up the area where the baking display is, so I just have the counter seating in the front and then 2 tables in it, and then I ended up changing the flooring to this marble one because the flooring I had originally kind of limited the coloring of the furniture I could use because not everything matched, so I figured a lot more would match with the marble flooring, so I decided to go with it. Unfortunately, the marble flooring is very expensive, like I think it was around 15 simoleons per square. So not the cheapest option, but I just decided to go with it anyway because I really liked how it looked. Right now I'm finishing up the furnishing in the bakery area, so I'm actually moving on to the kitchen area. And like I believe I said this already, but the furnishing in this build isn't quite as detailed as normal because I was trying to save money, so I didn't use as many knick-knacky type items as usual. And this kitchen itself is also pretty small. I wanted to have a separate kitchen for the bakery. I didn't want them to always have to use their kitchen or only have a kitchen down in the bakery and have them always have to come down here when they want to cook. But I did use slightly nicer furniture in the bakery kitchen. Like I used the second to cheapest refrigerator, second to cheapest stove. Upstairs, I did use just all the cheapest appliances and all the cheapest counters to save money, but at least they've got something a little nicer down here for their business to help with that. Also putting the sink in here, and I did want to put something behind the sink, so I decided to put this plaque kind of like as a thing to remind employees to wash their hands. I know that's not actually what it's supposed to be, but that's just sort of what I imagine that being. I'm also adding in some soap and some paper towels. I didn't add a whole lot of accent items on the counters just because I wanted to make sure there was a couple of free counters for food prep because that's definitely going to be very important to this business. I did also add in a coffee maker and a microwave, a little fruit bowl over there, and a rug in the stove and sink area. And then on top of the refrigerator, I thought it'd be a nice touch to have some pots and pans. But that's all for the kitchen, so right now moving on to I guess, guest half bathroom or the bathroom for the people who are in the shop. So I used that dated tile there that kind of reminds me of something from the 70s or 80s, and then used a lighter color of the paneling wall. So on this floor there's a lot of paneling and brick, and I just used pretty much the cheapest plumbing just to save money. They can focus on upgrading all of that later. And then I did use those hand towels that came with Get to Work. I didn't use the soap just because I liked how the soap pump looked in the bathroom more, but I did use the hand towels there, so it is really nice that they added in those items to use with community lots. Like, it'll definitely be a lot more fun to make community lots with the items that came with this expansion pack, because I feel like before there was sort of a lack of community lot type items, but right now I'm working on this little common entrance area here that, goes towards the upstairs apartment, also goes to what will potentially be the basement shop. And I just used that. To me, it's like waiting room type seating area, or type seating that came with I think that was from the detective career, but right now I'm just working on changing the staircase and all that, trying to figure out what kinds of decorations I wanted to use in here. I didn't really put a whole lot of furnishing in this area just because I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money, and plus I wasn't sure exactly what would go in here, so I just used that surface there that was supposed to be one of the miscellaneous pedestal type ones for shops and just put a flower on it. And then I couldn't think of what else to put on it, so I just used those paintings, especially since they are a bit cheaper. And right now I'm just putting some lighting into the basement. I was going to put some shelving in there, but to save money, I decided to just leave everything completely empty. And I think it'll be really fun to potentially turn that into a photography studio. It might have the mother get into photography, kind of like she picked up a passion for it from her detective career. I think that would work pretty well. Here I'm working on the little entrance area that goes up into the apartment, and now I'm actually about to begin furnishing the actual apartment itself. There isn't really a whole lot of furniture in this landing area here. Pretty much I just put in a picture and then a plant. I was going to use that tile at first, but then I ended up just changing it to be wood. I used wood, like, in the non-apartment areas I used pretty much tile, but then in the apartment I used wood, especially since the wood is actually one of the cheaper floorings. So yeah, that's pretty much all the furniture that I put in there. I also did use the exposed brick in a few places on the upper floor. And right now I'm just trying to figure out what kind of wallpaper I use, so I decided just to go with the plain paint type wallpaper to save money. There's a really small kitchen. It's really just this linear kitchen along this wall here, and I As I previously said, I just use the cheapest counters, the cheapest appliances, just to save them a bit of money. In this room, I also use the cheapest blinds to just keep it very cheap. And that's right there is where I put the exposed brick, and I also put it behind the kitchen appliances as well, just to have a bit of a different wall behind there, sort of like a backsplash. I was going to put a microwave in, but then if they really want to use a microwave, they can just go downstairs. I figured it'd be better to open up more counter space. And as far as the wall coloring goes, I decided to just use this mint green type color that you see here. And something sort of odd about this apartment, like I said before, this apartment has some quirks. It's not really, doesn't have all the things houses usually have. This apartment doesn't have a living room. I was gonna have one, but then when I put in all the bedrooms and the bathrooms and everything, because I wanted to make sure there's 2 bathrooms, because I figured it would just get ridiculously annoying if there's only one. After I put all that in, I realized there just wasn't enough space to have a TV area. I also want to make sure there's enough space for a larger dining table, because this is a larger family after all. Yeah, so I decided to just not have a TV area, so there actually are no TVs in this apartment, but I figure that's fine because this family just might be so busy with everything else they have going on that they might not have a whole lot of time to just sit down and watch TV. You know, not every family, most families have TVs, but not every family does, so I figured they could be a family that doesn't. And when they get more money in the future, move to a new house, then I can have them get a TV, but for the time being, they can just read and dance and do other things to get their fun up, so it should work out fine. I thought it'd be nice to use that space there for a little reading nook, and I put a kid poster above it. I just thought that'd be kind of cute to have a reading themed poster in there, and then I also put a larger plant in that area and just adding in a runner type rug in that hallway, and then adding a painting right in there, and then another one there. So that's pretty much it for the common area. So now moving on to the bathroom on the first floor of the apartment. This is a very small bathroom, but it is a full bathroom. I just kind of crammed everything that I needed to have in there. Took me a little while to figure out what kind of flooring I wanted to use, but I did know that I wanted to use that particular wall coloring. So I just used this floor tile that you see here. That I thought that actually worked pretty well with the coloring of the walls. And then this bathroom, like I said, it's pretty simple. You just got a sink, you got a toilet, and then you have a shower. I of course used just the cheapest plumbing to save money and put a few decorations in. I didn't put too many decorations in because I did want to keep the cost down. Just, I just like the basic decorations like towels and soap and such, and then a little bath mat there in front of the shower. I'm furnishing the first of the 2 teen rooms, so when furnishing them I kept in mind the traits and interests and what career they wanted to go into. So first is the room for the teenage son, and he's someone who's athletic and very focused on health, and he has just an interest in the human body and helping people to feel better. So as a result of that, he's going to be wanting to go into the medical career. So I put some athletic themed posters throughout the room. I did want to have a punching bag, but this room is just really small, so that just wasn't something I was able to fit into it. I did go with this green theme. I did use the cheapest of the single beds, and that green color of it is definitely my favorite. And as far as the walls go, I just went with a neutral brown colored wall, and I did cram a desk in along that diagonal wall. It was just quite tricky to fit things into this room because of the size of it and also the shape of it, but it is kind of nice to furnishing challenging areas. Now that I think about it, I should have included that little doll that like half of it shows the skeleton and the brain, and then there's also that skeleton object that came with a medical career. Now that I think about it, I should have put those in that room, but I forgot to. But I can do that before the Let's Play starts. But right now I'm working on their teenage daughter's room, and she is interested in anything and everything STEM related, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Just she loves sciences, loves technology, just loves all of that sort of thing. So throughout her room I added a lot of scientific type posters. Get to Work came with a lot of science-themed posters to go with the scientific career, so I really enjoyed getting to put those to use in this room. And as I'm sure you probably guessed by now, she will be the one who goes into the scientist career. I also used that little robot lamp on her end table. I thought that would be a cute little decoration for her room. Right now I'm also adding in a bunch of those science-themed posters, and I threw in a random musical one, but I do put more science-themed posters up throughout the rest of the room. I had a bit of trouble when it came to figuring out the color scheme of the room, because I guess I've been getting a little bit frustrated with the color choices that come with that bed. Like, I've been wanting some new ones, and then I also had issues like where the end table didn't quite match that one that I chose there. So then I changed it to that other one, and then I really wanted to use green in that room because I just felt like the green went so well with the color I chose for the walls. So I ended up just figuring I would go with a green and purple theme for her room, and then I decided to just change the other room to be more of a blue theme because, as I said, I'm not really fond of all the color choices that come with that bed, and the blue ones are more so my favorite, so I decided to just go with one of those for that room, even though I was kind of avoiding blue because I have a tendency to just always go for blue because it's, well, my favorite color, as I've said in numerous other builds. But right now I'm just working on her desk area. I didn't give her a computer at first, but then I did go back in after I finished everything and added a computer, so she does have the only computer in the apartment. I figured she would want to have one though because she's interested in, you know, science and technology and all that, so I thought that she might want to get into programming. So I don't think it's relevant to the scientist career, but I probably will just have her learn some programming. I did give her the programming related aspiration, but then I realized it requires her to join the tech guru career, so I might have to change that. Or I can just have her do part of it and then just change it later on. I'll have to figure that out, but right now moving on to the upstairs common area, which is actually more of a play area because I really like the younger girl's room is just really small. I could fit hardly anything in it. So I just stuck a creativity table and a science lab out there for her to use and just put some more of the kid type decorations in that room. Use the same runner rug that I used downstairs, and then I did end up using the sunflower painting there because I did want to use it somewhere in this build. Now moving on to the upstairs bathroom, which is a bit bigger than the downstairs one, and I chose to just stick a bathtub in that one instead of a shower. I was going to use the bathtub shower combo, but I realized that cost over 2,000 simoleons, so yeah, I decided that wasn't exactly the best idea, and to keep things simple, I just used the same flooring and wallpaper that I used in the downstairs one. I did put a bit more money into this bathroom. I just used counters and separate sinks instead of just the standing sinks, but I didn't really put a whole lot of decorations into it otherwise, and here I'm just filling in all the slots on the counters so I can place the soap how I want, and then getting rid of the soaps that I put in, just adding some toothbrushes in there. So right now I'm working on furnishing the youngest daughter's room. For her room I gave her a bright blue theme because I did of course use the kids bed because it is the cheapest, and out of the colors that comes in, the bright blue is definitely my favorite, so that's what I chose to use in this room. And I just gave like a little panda lamp and a car toy and I believe a horse toy on that end table there, and then right in here I put in a dresser and a giant triceratops toy. I believe I gave her the creative aspiration, but there wasn't really a whole lot of room in this room to show that. Now that I think about it, I did forget to put in a violin, but I can always add that in later. But other than that, I just couldn't really do a whole lot with the space to show that that was an interest of hers. But right now I was trying to figure out what to put on that wall, so I just stuck that little tree in there, made it a blue color to match the bed. And I did change I wasn't going to use one of the kid wallpapers, but I figured it would look better in this room, so I just used it anyway. So now moving on to the last room in the house, which is the parents' room, and for their room I mainly just went with a beige and yellow kind of a color scheme. But up until this point of the video, I haven't mentioned anything about the name of this bakery or why I chose it. So I chose to call this place Magnolia Station because it does tie in with Magnolia Promenade, which is the name of this neighborhood. And also there's a tram line that runs alongside this neighborhood and also runs through parts of Willow Creek. So the station part of the name kind of ties in with that. I figured it could be like saying this is a station you should stop by along your way through Magnolia Promenade. So that was my thoughts on giving this place this name. But I hope you all enjoyed hearing me talk a bit about what I plan to do with my Get to Work Let's Play and about the family that I'm going to use for it. I did use the family in the showcase part of this video, so you will get to see what they look like before I actually start the series. I also wanted to apologize for not uploading anything the past 5 or 6 days. I just had some other things that came up that I had to focus on, so I sort of put YouTube on the back burner to focus on those things, but I do hope to upload more often this week. So once again, sorry about that. And like always, there is a download link in the description in case you want to download this lot, but I'm going to leave off here, so I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video.